Today I'm back up in the area that I used to live, and unusually on these trips I find myself with a few hours of spare time. So I thought, why not revisit some of my old go-to locations and see if I can capture some images there that are different to the kind of things that I used to do when I used to come to these places regularly. Now, just to add to the challenge, it's the early to mid-afternoon on a very hot summer's day. In fact, we're just coming into a heat wave. So not only are we dealing with harsh midday light, but also pretty much anything that's even approaching looking like a beach is going to be full of people. And because of the heat, any kind of long walks or anything too strenuous is not very smart. So it's going to be tricky, but I hope I'll manage to come up with a few images. I hope you'll enjoy the video. If you do, and you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe before you go. I'm starting off at Amadoreo Reservoir. This was always one of my favourite go-to locations. It's surrounded by mountains. The dam itself is quite nice. There's normally some really nice watercolour, particularly during the daytime, which is what it is now, and the colour is really pretty out there. It was just a good location for me to come to because it wasn't far from where I used to live. It's a bit further away from where I am now. At each end of the dam there's a tunnel that goes through the surrounding hillside. This one is curved and has a couple of kind of windows coming through which actually overlook the reservoir. Now they are graffitied, and unfortunately there's quite a lot of rubbish and that around, but nevertheless I'm looking for something different, and this may be it. So I'm thinking of a shot looking up the tunnel with light coming in from the side windows and from the end, probably black and white. And I'm even toying with the idea of doing it with a fisheye lens to kind of really exaggerate the curvature, but I'm not sure about that. So what I'm going to do is pop the fisheye lens on and have a look and see if it looks like it's going to work, and if not, it'll just be an ordinary wide angle. Now, because I don't want it to be obviously a fisheye shot, I need to try and get the bits that I want flat, as close to the middle of the scene as possible. This is one of the windows that goes through the tunnel, through the side of the tunnel, and looks out over the scene. And I'm thinking of doing a shot using that to frame the scene outside. Now there is, I'll just bring it over here a bit. I don't know if you can see, no, it's too bright. There's like a little twig or tree growing up on one side. There's graffiti and what have you in there, which isn't ideal. But I'm actually thinking doing this pretty high contrast. So in other words, letting the actual tunnel itself, or the window itself, darken out to have the background properly exposed. So you get a nice view framed, and hopefully that hides most of the graffiti and other unpleasant stuff. very hot. Had a bit of a wander around here. I think what I'm going to do now is go back to the car, drive to my next location and cool down in the air-conditioned environment of the car, and then we'll see what we can do at the next one. Oh, nice to cool down in the car for 20 minutes or so. And now I'm at my second location. This is the location called Maladetta. Now the usual or favourite subject to photograph here was that tower up there, which is not one of the 16th century watchtowers that are normally along the coast. This one is 19th century, late 19th century I believe. It was actually built as a study or a library. I know I'm looking for different kind of scenes to what I would normally do, but the tower is quite an appealing subject. So I'm thinking of doing a shot of it from down here, about 22mm on the 11-22 lens. Looking up there, there's this kind of rough path that goes up, and then the tower is framed either side by trees and a big rocky bit that sticks up. Almost certainly black and white, probably lots of contrast. Often wish this old house was a bit more renovated. It would make a great photographic subject, but not like this, I don't think. There's some wonderfully shaped trees around here, but they're quite difficult to actually get to and to do any kind of photography on. What I'm looking down here, there's a tree, it may even be more than one tree. It's got a nicely shaped canopy and a lovely kind of shape coming out at the bottom. And I'm thinking probably zoomed a fair way in so that the canopy is outside of the frame, the edges of the canopy are all outside of the frame, concentrating on the contrast between the green, which will be needles, and the contrasts of the shape, the gnarled shape of the trunks, and the light coming through the canopy onto the trunks. I want to try to get an angle where I can see the foreground fork, but there's also part of one in the background. Now, I can't get all of that in, so I'm going to have to settle for one side, but it might well work. And once again, the heat is starting to become too much. So it's back to the car, get some air conditioning on while I drive to my next location and see what we can get there. You know, I couldn't come and do some photography in the area of El Campello without coming to one of my favourite locations in Campello. This is the marina. Done numerous photography sessions here, and it's a lovely place. And I think the thing that makes it so interesting photographically is the restored 16th century watchtower at the end here, which always creates such a nice feature when you're photographing the marina itself. Okay, now it's time to look for something different. So I'm going to put the telephoto lens back on again. There's a rock down here just sticking out of the water. Now I could put a circular polarizer on to try and cut through the reflections on the water. Just want to see what difference it makes. Okay, I've just had the call that my time is about up and I need to be moving on, but I'm just going to try to do one more shot. Unfortunately, a boat's just gone across the scene, which is a bit of a nuisance because it's disturbed the scene, so I'm going to have to wait a few minutes. But basically what we've got here is one of the mooring cleats, or whatever it is, bollards, on the side. The tower in the background with reflections, and that's why I don't want the disturbed water, because it's breaking up the reflections. What I want to do is shoot this fairly long 55mm to make the tower big and still have that mooring in the foreground nice and sharp as well. So I'm probably going to try to do a handheld focus stack. This camera doesn't have built-in focus stacking, so the only way I can do it is to try and hold the camera still, and I'll use the touch shutter release to try to get my 2 or 3 images all roughly in the same place. It's important to turn the image review off when I'm doing this, so it doesn't show me the shot that I've just taken and delay me taking the next one. It's at f11. I want to get my height right so that I can see all of the reflection of the tower, and there's still a little bit of water before the edge with the bollard on. Height is important. That's it, some old locations, but hopefully some new and slightly different images. Hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, and you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe before you go. And as always, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch, so thank you very much. And until next week, bye.